March of 2009, a group of 12 UNH students, 2 faculty and 1 volunteer, traveled to the Dominican Republic to take place in a cultural exchange through an organization called Friends Around the World. We had studied what books and lectures had offered us from afar, but now would be learning about the social issues that the Dominican faced, and offer our services in constructing a community center in a rural village. For the majority of us, it was our first time in the Dominican Republic. During the 8 days we spent there, many of us were touched to our core by the generosity, brotherhood, and the jovial nature of our Dominican hosts. People who, although by U.S. standards have little material wealth, seem to have a happiness untouched by the ebbs and flows of life. This is a story of how a group of UNH students and faculty set out to make a positive change in a local Dominican community, but ultimately experienced the greatest change in ourselves through the interactions we shared and the friendships we made.
The Dominican Republic is one of the poorest countries in the Caribbean. Free trade makes it difficult for local farmers to compete in a global market, and the diminished sugarcane industry, once a booming business in the DR, is in decline. Communities like San Luis, where we were working to build a community center, once thrived off sugarcane productions. But in 1998, Hurricane George ravished the coast and destroyed the once flourishing industry. Since then, there is little work for the inhabitants of San Luis, who mostly survive through small businesses, selling produce in the streets, or with help from friends and family abroad. Because of the high risk of hurricanes, many buildings in the DR are cement structures. In San Luis, we mixed cement by hand, enforced it with rebar, and worked together to pour the foundation. We also had the opportunity to teach English at one of the schools in San Luis. Because of the booming tourist economy in the DR and the promise it holds to a secure career, many young people are eager to learn English. At this school, one teacher is responsible for between 30 and 50 students. The classrooms were tightly packed with minimal resources, but the students were excited to have native English speakers teaching them.
Mi corazoncito está de luto por tu amor. Prende 2 velitas y te escribe una canción. Es un poco necio y se llena de complejos, pero sé que tu dueño, mira qué imaginación.
Why don't you talk to us about Columbus's lighthouse, El Faro Colón?
It's a lighthouse that is for Columbus. It's in honor of Christopher Columbus, and it's in the Dominican Republic because that was the first place Columbus claimed. The whole project was instigated by Trujillo, Rafael Leonidas Molina Trujillo, who was the Generalissimo, or the president of the Dominican Republic from 1930 to 1961. He, with pressure from the United States, implemented this project, which took away millions, if not billions of dollars from the actual growth of the Dominican population. It took 40, maybe 45 years to complete, and was actually completed after Trujillo's reign in power, during which time, when it was built, the electricity that it used took away from most of the electricity in the surrounding area of Santo Domingo, and so most people had to live without electricity. Surrounding this gigantic structure, which is in the shape of a cross, is something called the Wall of Shame, which was meant to block out the sight of the poverty surrounding El Faro Colón. And so when other people came to see the lighthouse, they wouldn't see the poverty surrounding the area. That's just an example of one of the many examples of the gap between rich and poor, a giant structure worth millions of dollars right next to extreme poverty, what the UN would define as extreme poverty.
Guantanamera, Guaira, Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guaira, Guantanamera.
I felt the most moved at the orphanage, and it was just instantaneous. And I was holding back tears listening to Maria Elena, and it was shocking for me to see a woman so dedicated to these children that biologically aren't even hers, and she basically sacrificed, you know, having her own family just to give these children love and a good home. And I feel like I really haven't met anyone like that here. So meeting her was just a really unique experience. And I wish that we could have spent more time at the orphanage. I really wish we could have helped her, because I know that well, she won't be around forever, and I feel like there's kind of, I know I've talked with Charlotte about this, but there's like this kind of responsibility we feel to go back and help her, or to at least have someone working with her.
This is the place where people go and they basically, the trucks from Santo Domingo come and dump their trash here. And the Haitians spend their time sifting through the trash to find something that's worth value that they can sell. And that's how they make some sort of money to be able to do something, eat, whatever. Yeah. Ya te lo tomé. Hola.
Hola, caracola.
Hola, caracola. Es que no toma foto, mi amor, toma video. We're going into the Bate, which is where about 95% of the people here are Haitian, or of Haitian origin.
Buenas tardes, saludos.
In the Dominican Republic, there are many communities of Haitians that were brought over by the Dominican government with the promise of work in the sugarcane fields. Now, many of these communities, referred to as bates, have a high rate of unemployment. We visited one of these communities called the Duquesa. The people there have no running water, no access to health services, and without documentation are not recognized by the Dominican government or the Haitian government. La Duquesa had a water pump on the outskirts of the town. They were able to use this water for bathing and washing clothes and dishes. The water, however, was not suitable for drinking, and they had to buy purified water, something they really can't afford. Now the water pump has been stolen, and they are forced to collect rainwater for washing clothes and bathing, and when there is no rain, must also buy water for household usage. The one thing that people of La Duquesa do have, however, is hope. Hope that although they themselves may never see any change, that future generations will not suffer as they have.
There's something symbolic in building the foundation of a community center. Many of the grassroots initiatives that take place all around the world are slow to take root and seem small and insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But we work with the knowledge that after we're gone, others will come and continue on the foundation we have laid. And this is true to solving the injustices that exist in the world. Perhaps we will never see the day in which every child on earth is well-fed and well-educated, and isn't denied the liberties that make us human, but we work with the hope that that will one day be a reality. And that is the one thing that these Dominicans have and will never lose, the hope of a brighter future, not necessarily for themselves, but for their children and future generations. And it is our responsibility, as members of one human family, to add to the construction of a world free of injustice.